Hey everyone, I wanted to take a few minutes to welcome you to Marketing 201 Introduction to Marketing and to review some of the features of the syllabus and some of the things that are happening in this course. Of course, as you should have seen in the previous video, I'm out the first week. This is an totally unexpected emergency. I'm going to have some surgery tomorrow. Hopefully we'll get this fixed up and I will be back enrolling a week from Tuesday. I should see you then. First of all, let me see if I can get this. Wanted to give you a brief intro and background to myself. I am getting ready to start, I guess, my 14th year at Drexel University. This is my first job in my second career. I spent about 20 years as a PA or physician assistant, spending about half the time in rural primary care and then about half of my time in surgical subspecialty. So in all those 20 years of clinical medicine, I never did any ophthalmology, which turns out to be a problem as I grow older. But anyhow, what are you going to do? It's all been completely new to me. You know, as this description says, I used to teach healthcare management. I am now full-time in marketing and having a ball with it. I do still a lot of research in the healthcare area. Healthcare is my home industry, so you know I'm a healthcare guy. So a lot of my examples that I use in class, for example, might come from the healthcare industry. If that's a problem, I apologize in advance. But as Popeye said, I am who I am. And so I do a lot of different kinds of research. I do a lot of, I've published general marketing articles. I publish a lot of articles about how you measure and manage service quality, which, by the way, we're going to talk about in our services marketing module. That is the full and entire course of Services Marketing 348, which I also teach. And as you can see, I also publish a lot in health services research area. Just briefly, if you go back up to like the yellowish slide up here, this takes you back to my undergraduate days. I wasn't a very diligent undergraduate student. I kind of just took courses I was interested in, and I ended up with a biology degree and a social work degree, which uniquely qualified me to be a PA. I started my PA training in 1979 and functioned purely as a clinical PA up to 2001. Then you can see these green areas, and these are my business experience. So I was a practice manager for a surgical practice back in the mid 90s. And it was a startup practice. So I did everything from the beginning to getting the first folding chairs and folding table that was our work area, medical equipment, hiring staff, hiring surgeons, buying equipment, designing patient care processes. I really enjoyed that job. Felt like I wasn't doing it that well, so that started me back. That was the trigger for my going back. You know, to get some more education. You know, the business was just very hard. I didn't feel like I was doing it well, so I decided to go get some business training. In those days, you couldn't just go I was a 40-year-old guy by that time, and you just couldn't go like start an MBA training. We do that now. All universities will allow you, even if you're not a business person. And I hadn't had any business courses, so when I went back to school, I actually started my first class was Intro to Marketing 201, along with Intro to Finance 201. And I ended up taking about 7 or 8 undergrad courses before transitioning to the MBA program, which kind of lit a fire under me, and I ended up transitioning directly to the doctoral program at Arizona State University, as you can see. And when I got out of the doctoral, sorry about this, I keep hitting this. When I got out of the doctoral program, I joined Drexel University, and I've been here ever since. I'll talk about this in a minute. I'm a founding partner of a company called CRO Analytics. But just I make the point at the bottom, like about 2020. It seems for me careers are about 20 years, um, and so it makes you wonder what my third career will be. Maybe not so much with my eye problems. It doesn't seem that way. But no, I'll probably continue to work in some form or fashion until I am in my 80s. So what will that next career be? I tend to call it my step down career. But the point is, for you guys as undergrads, you should be thinking in terms of three, perhaps four careers during your professional lifetime. So, based on the research on measuring and managing service quality, we founded a company called CRO Analytics, performance analytics for clinical trials that we sell to pharmaceutical companies. So, let me just take a few minutes to go through the syllabus. Um, Here is my basic information. I've talked about myself. My office is on the 8th floor. This is my cell phone, okay? As I mentioned, for this upcoming week, I'll probably be available for phone calls, I'm guessing, from like 9 a.m. to 7 p.m., starting about Wednesday, okay? Um, Feel free to call me on Tuesday or Monday if you have a question. That's fine. And just leave a message, and when I'm able to get back to it, I'll give you a call back and talk. We can talk through whatever your issue is. If it's a question, I have to think about how I'm going to do this. If it's a general question that would apply to the rest of the class, I usually email it, but I'm not sure how I'm going to do that. I might be able to get somebody to do the typing for me. Here is my email. Also on the cell phone, during when I'm teaching, I work during the weekends. Sunday mornings, I tend to take off. I tend to be at church until about 1, and then I'm available a little later on Sundays until about 8. Let's say that office hours will be before class, but just call my cell phone. You can stop by my office. Probably I won't be in as much as I normally would while I recover from the surgery, but once I'm up and running, then it'll be fine. The Blackboard course, I will post the slides there. The book, it's a required text. If textbook costs are an issue, you can use previous editions. You can use pretty much any intro to marketing textbook has pretty much the same material on it. I read across a lot of intro to marketing textbooks. They're very, very similar. I don't see a huge difference. Now, one of the people who teaches this class brings in supplementary software. I think it's called Connect, and they might try to sell you that. You don't want Connect. You don't need Connect for this class. The other issue is this for the recitation. Now, we're doing something new in the recitations. Okay, we're going to do this simulation from marketplace simulation about personal computers. It's a marketing program. You're running a marketing program for a new computer introduction. You will have to buy the licensing fee for that simulation. It's going to cost $25, okay? Now, I'm not sure the recitation instructors will highlight this point, but the decision I made about this for this summer is that we'll go with the $25 version. And what that means is that you will be able to form teams, convenience teams, if you would like. If you prefer, you can play against the machine by itself, okay? You can just play individually. Whatever works for you. This is the summer. In the summer, I find teams are always difficult, I know. But in the summer, it can get extremely difficult. So I chose the option where you can just play individually if you want, okay? What else did I want to say about that? It will be the $25 version. They call it the AI. Now, when you set it up in teams, you compete against each other. In this summer session, you will be competing against the computer, the artificial intelligence of the computer. Okay, so there's a little different orientation. Kind of, let's take the whole competitive thing off the table in the summer. Now, this marketplace simulation is a change. If you had taken Intro to Marketing last term, you have had Harvard Business Review cases where everybody reads through the case and then all the teams present about the same case. And the feedback we got from the students was it was incredibly boring. And they wanted us to try something different. And so we have used simulation in the past. The students didn't find it particularly relevant. Several of the faculty and the doctoral students have spent a long time going through. We think we have found a great alternative. Now, is it perfect? No. Here's to me the most challenging drawback of this. So, for example, early when we get out to about, like, say, week 4, you're going to be making decisions about how to configure your sales force. Okay. Now, I'm not going to talk about sales management until the end of the course. But the marketplace simulation within the course has all the material you need to make those decisions. Okay. Now, the material I go through later in the course will be kind of more big picture and provide some context and might shed the whole sales function in a new light, which you might say, gee, I might have done something differently. But the material within the simulation will be enough for you to make an appropriate decision. Okay. So, and you're being compared against, like the so-called competing against the machine. The machine only knows the material you have within the simulation. Okay, so that's a bit of a broad drawback, but I think these simulations will be a vast improvement. Maybe not 100%, but I think they'll be a lot better than what we were doing in the last one. I apologize, I keep hitting this computer. This is not obviously our professional recording studios. I'm doing this at home. I'm trying to just get this out before I go to the OR, so please bear with me. Your course information is available on the web. I gave you the link before. I talked about that. Here's the textbook. I will draw a lot from that. It's very helpful. Here's the previous edition. I actually have the previous edition either here at home or in my office. Now, a few words about marketing. Marketing is vastly misunderstood. The biggest challenge we have in teaching marketing, now understand that a lot of the time when I teach marketing, I'm teaching physicians, like 45-year-old physicians, right? And whether it's undergrads, physicians, every place in between. People think they know about marketing. They don't need to know anything about marketing. And of course that comes from because everybody has a lot of marketplace experience. But marketing is a technical discipline. And unfortunately, we have used words from the common language to have technical meanings, which lay people often do not appreciate. So when we say market, targeting, positioning, lay people, those without marketing training, say, I know those are English words, I know what they mean. But they have very technical meanings, which have profound implications if you're just using them in the lay sense. I would make the point that marketing is an essential business skill. Now, I know that probably in this class, I think probably 80-85% of you are not marketing majors. You don't want to do marketing. You think, I got to take this course, but I'm never going to do this. Because, number one, I'll deal with this in the next video. Number one, you think marketing is just selling stuff to people who don't really want your stuff, or it's advertising. And nothing could be further from the truth. As I will mention shortly, if you're doing marketing right, you don't need a sales function. Okay, people will beat down the door and be throwing money at you. Let me use the example of engineers from Volkswagen. Engineers are smart, but that doesn't mean they know marketing. When Volkswagen, whose brand is high performance engineering, reliability, trust, and lately trust in their environmental credentials. You know, you've probably heard of this emission scandal from a couple of years ago that they eroded their brand equity by like $1 trillion through this stupid scandal because the engineers didn't understand the marketing implication of a software workaround. Okay. Here's marketing is a way of thinking. Okay, like in sometimes I joke like in marketing there are no right answers, and I say that to emphasize that marketing is a way of thinking. It's less the answer you come up with and whether it aligns, with the answer in the back of the book is less important. Like, are you thinking about this properly? Are you framing this problem? Are you working through a good process? So it's much more of a way of thinking. The way my advisor in my doctoral program put it is that marketing is easy to learn, but it's hard to do. Um, and marketing is easy to learn. Like, let's compare it to like finance or accounting, right? Finance and accounting students are just beleaguered with a lot of rules to learn. Like in, accounting, you got to learn all these rules. Now, and I understand that, right? Because I was in medicine before, and medicine is the same way. In medicine, you have to learn all these rules. But once you figure out the rules and you get the rules down, well, then all you have to do is, as I would go out into the ER or the clinic, all I was doing was pattern recognition. I was trying to figure out which situation the rules applied to, what rules were relevant for this particular situation. It's the same for accounting and finance, okay? So it's very, very important to us to do marketing. Okay, so you guys might remember this. Here's our famous football team. These guys are great. They're awesome football players. And here's what they look like when they play football. Okay, and as we will learn, there's a tremendous amount of branding going on, right? In this picture, yeah, the dominating football team, but just in their uniforms and the logos on their helmet, right? The tone of the green in their shirts, all of this stuff is very, very critical to presenting a brand image. Okay, but here is what they look like. Now this is back about, I don't know, 4 years ago. But here's what they roll out this alternative branding, and which is a huge mistake. It's a huge mistake. You figure the Philadelphia Eagles probably have over about $1 billion to $1.25 billion of brand equity within their organization, and you would do this even for a week to degrade the brand equity? No, that's a huge mistake. One of the most important things is when you're managing a brand is consistency. Now the alternative. I always get this argument. Yeah, but they will sell hundreds of thousands of dollars. Each one of these jerseys cost like 75 or $100, and they sell a bunch of them. Okay, let me concede that, and let me say like, oh, yeah, imagine like they sell 100,000 of them or $100,000 worth of them. Okay, so you've made $100,000, but you've threatened over $1 billion in brand equity by doing it. This is dumb. What's interesting about this particular game, if you're an Eagles fan, this was the year, I forget what year it was. It might have been one of the Chip Kelly years, but they were really, really lousy. And this was their best game. And they were playing Detroit. And it was a blowout. The Eagles won. And what I found very, very interesting about this later on in talking to Eagles fans is they had very little memory of this game. Like towards the end of the season, when you're going back and you're talking about the season, Eagles fans had very little memory of this game because it didn't look like the Eagles is my explanation for it. So it's very, marketing mistakes are very, very common. Here's another one that Dove ran recently. You ask a bunch of women as they set up this door, and you walk through, you vote about your own appearance. Are you average looking or are you beautiful? Okay. And oh my God, can you imagine anything more aversive than asking your women customers to like rate themselves? How awful, how demeaning, how degrading. But yet they did that. And you know, it was a disaster. They had to pull us. I mean, can you imagine? I wish I was there. I wish they were not going to do that, you know, and you know, do some kind of psychology assessment after they finished with this poor woman. Oh my God, it's just it's so stupid. Again, it's marketing mistakes, not understanding your customer. So I talked a lot about the recitation. I don't think I have anything to say about that. Here's the learning objectives. I want you to come, I know you think you know what marketing is, but I want you to come out with a broader, more accurate understanding of marketing. The most fun I have in this course, and I love teaching this course, but the most fun I have is when at the end of the course, I'm talking to students and they say to me, this is kind of cool. I didn't think marketing did this stuff. And and again, as I alluded to, understand the marketing vocabulary. How do you develop a marketing strategy? How do you segment, target, positioning? Again, these are technical terms which I will get into. Developing tactics for your marketing strategies and adapting these tactics to the specific context. Finally, how does marketing relate to the other functions? Treat this class as a job. Students who do well, you know, look at the textbook ahead of time, review the material, come to class with some idea of what's going on, pay attention. In other words, you treat this class like a job. All of you have been out on co-op, so you understand what I mean. Here's what we're trying to do in this class by doing marketing is explained in this triangle called Bloom's taxonomy, and you've probably seen it 1,000 times. And lecture is a very basic, foundational, low-level kind of learning. Recitation gets into the higher levels of learning. And the thing is, if we can link what we're doing in this class to what you're doing in recitation, you learn more and you remember what you learned for a longer period of time. So it's much more powerful learning. Grades are solely determined in the performance of these activities. I can't adjust grades for outside performance. When you think about what grades measure, they really measure the amount of time you have available or are willing to devote to this particular material. That's all it measures, okay? It's not really an intelligent assessment. So generally, in general, the exams for the lecture, for my part, is worth 60% of your grade. The recitation that you do with your recitation instructors is worth 40%. Your recitation instructors are Jintao Zhang and Josephine Zhao. I know them both. I've worked with them before. They're great. I think you're going to like them. Now, again, we are using this marketplace simulation for the first time here. So I will be going through this with you. Jintao and Josephine will be going through this with you for the first time. We're going to explore it. Now, Jintao, Josephine, and I have been through it in depth. We've been playing with it, and so we have some familiarity with it. What we're going to be interested in is how, as you explore this, how you react to it and what you think. And I'll come by some of the recitations when I'm feeling better and see how you're doing with this. Now, for the exams, here's the dates for the exams. I typically give 50 multiple choice questions. Everybody can easily finish this before the hour and 20-minute lecture period. We'll do an exam on Tuesday, July 16th, Tuesday, August 6th, and then Thursday, August 29th. The exam policies: bring a photo ID to your exams. Don't miss exams. Do not miss exams. I'm in a wedding. My family booked me a flight. Yeah, I've heard it all. I do not intend to give a final exam during the final exam period. Don't be late for exams. I understand traffic is terrible. You do what we have to do as business people when we go to meetings. We show up an hour early, and we end up cooling our heels most of the time, but at other times, it saves us from being late. That's standard business practice. Can't leave the classroom once the exam starts. Learning accommodations, yes, and I've received a bunch of learning accommodations, but I can't do retro accommodations. Like you can't come to me if you get a bad grade on the first exam. You can't come to me and say, "Hey, I forgot I have learning accommodations. Can I retake this exam?" No, come on, you can't do that. Let me know. I'm happy. I love yes, accommodations, absolutely. And I will do my best. And if you feel like you're not being appropriately accommodated, please let me know and we'll work through it. Multiple choice. Now, one of the things I'm going to talk about is that I take attendance through our discussion. I like to start every lecture section kind of as a warm up, talking about some, I don't know, marketing controversy or issue going on in the world today. Um, and I will talk to you before our first exam. I will walk you through the details. Now, if you have an exam, you take the exam and you're like, and you get a question wrong and you think, no, I think this is a mistake and I want to appeal this. Please email that to me and I will look at it. I write new questions for every exam. So, I'm not pulling out tried and true questions that I've used a dozen times. So it's quite possible I will make a mistake or I'll phrase it wrong or it's not clear. So yeah, fine, I appeal. I do not appeal in front of the classroom because I just tend to say, yeah, sure, what. So email me the appeal and I will kind of go through. And the other reason to email is that I have to look at my diagnostics for that question, like how many people got it wrong and what other kinds of answers were they giving, okay? So I need to look at that. So I just can't do it in front of the class. Now, extra credit. When you go through, you have your exam grade, you mix in your recitation grade, you come up with a final grade. Say your grade is 88 for the course. You have an 88. Now, at this point, you have the option of adding 2 additional points to your final grade through extra credit activities, okay? So that would take your B plus and move it to an A minus, okay? Through the research studies that we conduct. There are 4 studies per term. Kim can get you set up with this. I don't control these, so I'm not a good resource for these. I will try to, here's the problem we have is Kim sends out an email blast to everyone in the class, but sometimes it's blocked by your filter as spam. So I will try to announce when the email is out and you can check to see if it's in your spam folder. Calculating final grades, here's the final grades, here's how you calculate them. Okay, so if you come to me and ask, like, I'm trying to figure out what my grade for this class is going to be, I will refer you to these formulas on the syllabus, okay? Or if you say, I don't understand, I think you made a mistake calculating the grade, okay? You better be arguing from the basis of these formulas, okay? And yeah, and I can send you the line from your line from my grade book. I talked about accommodations, learning resources, appropriate business conduct, respect for classmates, or I'll deduct points, okay? For hazing, harassment, whatever. Academic integrity and honesty, of course. The official grade book is handled by the recitation instructors, and then at the end of the term, they send it to me. I communicate with you through your Drexel email. I know some of you prefer to use personal emails. Make sure your Drexel email inbox is cleaned out at the beginning of the term. Whenever I send out a blast, I tend to get bounce backs saying the inbox is full, and I'm not in a position where I can chase you down for that. I do have the prerogative of making course revisions, and I will send an email to your official Drexel email, and I will make an announcement in class. Here's the tentative schedule, okay? And this might change because of this surgical procedure. Right now, I don't think so. I will make the appropriate announcements and notifications if it does. Okay, everyone. Email me if you have any questions. Otherwise, I look forward to seeing you a week from Tuesday. What is that? That is July 2nd. In the meantime, Email me any questions. Don't forget to go to recitation. There's no lecture, but there is recitation.